All right, so just to help people who are welcome to Houston AIML meetup. I'm Lance Kine. I work for Leading Agile. I'm going to talk about some work I've been doing with AI. And the paper here is on our meetup group site, and there's a link, and that will take us right in there. So what's cool about this is I have a need for this. This is not something that's just hypothetical, and so it's something I wanted to apply to something to make my own web properties better. So as a author and a podcaster, I have web properties. I have three different podcast web properties. One's sci-fi thoughts for science fiction. One's agile thoughts for agile consulting, and the other one's Mianjie Li Nian, which is the Mandarin edition of the Agile Thoughts podcast. And this product, I've written this paper forward thinking, meaning I'm using words like we have used it with clients. I have clients who are interested in using it, but I haven't actually deployed it. So this paper is a little bit more. I'm kind of like Elon Musk here. I'm a little bit forward on what I'm saying here. Apologies, but I when I wrote the paper in the past, I figured it'd be done by now. So it actually hasn't been deployed yet. So I'm going to show you prototypes and how I built it. So I'm going to start with the solution architecture in this conversation, and then I'll show you some prototypes that I built with Flowwise.ai. That's how I built I used for orchestrating the AI part, and then later I think that's about it. I might have a little bit of a demo, but I discovered that was broken. But I can at least show you some of the pieces. And I'll come back later when I got it all installed. I actually invited one of my partners in this situation, but I don't think he's going to make it today. One of the podcasts properties is a friend and coworker named David Pryor, and he is the podcast host of Drunken PM. So check that out. Oh, there he is right here. So David Pryor. These are other people from Leading Agile that I've been consulting with as I was working on this. So please interrupt when you have questions. If I say something wrong or incorrect, I'm not an AI expert. I'm trying to be an AI expert. I'm working on it very hard, but it's okay. If I say something wrong, I don't mind stopped and having it reframed so it's correct. So anyways, I worked with the LLMs and I'm using ChatGPT 3.5. And the prototype I'm going to show you today is going to be ChatGPT in the cloud. And it's going to use a local database for the RAG, for the I sometimes the request augmented generation. And anyways, so here's the tool chain. So there's the high level context is customer loads the podcast website and an online chatbot interacts with them. So let me go back a little bit about the business part. Apologies if you read the paper. I'm just recapping what it says. So podcasts have been around since, I'm not sure if they were around in the 90s, but definitely 2000s they were a thing. And so it's been about 20 years that there have been podcasts that are 20 years old, and they have content that's hard to explore because search isn't good enough. You can't just type in keyword searches and find something about like your favorite. You could probably find podcasts about your favorite actress, for example, but you can't find podcasts that are about the favorite actress and other people that she often shows up with. And there isn't any generative AI. I mean, without generative AI, you won't make those semantic connections in that manner. And also you're dependent on whether the keywords are in the transcript. So most podcasts sites do not store their transcripts online because it's extra work and an extra step. And this isn't a very, how do I say that? There's not a ton of money in podcasts. There are some people who do that. And so this is pretty much a lean and mean situation where people know if they're going to do podcasts, they're going to get the audio content out. They're doing an audio podcast. And I'm primarily talking about audio podcasts. Everything we're talking about today, though, can be applied to video as well. So they're generally focused on getting their audio content out and not a lot of extra cost of, say, creating transcripts and put them online. So in this case, what I'm going to walk you through is a solution for getting that semantic content out of the podcast and into a generative AI so that people can search for semantic content. So my favorite actress when she wore a red dress. Okay. Oh, so there's probably maybe a movie about that, or maybe she was wearing a red dress during an interview. Who knows? But anyways, the generative AI can actually handle that kind of searching where a search engine is not so good at. So, and I myself, my podcast has been running for about five. Let's see, I have about almost. I'm getting close to 300 episodes on two of the podcasts, and in that case, you can. I have a lot of I have so on the Agile Thoughts podcast, for example, I have a lot of technical content that if you're interested in, say, test automation, a generative AI will just give you a list of the content that you like about test automation. Where if you do search engines, it may miss a lot of information. Okay, cool. So that's the business context. There's now we're at a point where there's a lot of content out there that it's hard to find, and so now I'm going to show you a chatbot that allows you to do that. And then this is, again, I'm coming at this from the solution architect angle. So there's a homepage out there for the podcast. There's this thing I'm calling the concierge. And, and then there's going to be, it's going to be connected to a vector database in the cloud and an LLM in the cloud. And I'm using cloud technology because this is about public content anyhow. The content's already out there in the public in audio format. It's just hard to get to. So there's no reason to consider on-premise solutions unless there's a good cost incentive. So for an ease of implementation, this is a good move. To figure out how to here, let me just keep going to the solution architecture. So now there's going to be a home page for the podcast. It has a chatbot that's going to connect to a back-end system. So the chatbot's going to have an internet connection to a back end, and then that back end is also going to operate independently of this other piece up here. By the way, you can see my screen, okay?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So this is called the RSS data miner. So what that is podcasts, when they're produced and published, they go out on internet feeds called RSS feeds. Kind of like we were talking a moment ago off camera about the how do you find popular artificial intelligence talks or conferences? And I was wondering, I didn't hear what I expected. I thought I would hear somebody had some hot leads to an RSS feed where they're just like transmitting information about that topic. And so you would get notifications as conference materials gets published or papers get published. I would expect, honestly, I'll look at it after this call, that there's probably something out there broadcasting those in there. They would use RSS to aggregate the data from the all of the other conferences out there. They could scrape them and they would then transmit them over an RSS feed because that's the usual way to transmit public information with some content. And that's how podcasts work. The RSS feed shows the episode name, the how to find the episode, i.e. a URL, and it will have it may have some transcript or show notes. They'll have some content about what you're about to listen to in order to incite you to click. So I'm going to use that strategy to so these clients, I'm going to subscribe my data miner to their RSS feed, and it will then get updates when they publish, and it will walk us through this checking to see if if it already has collected the show, meaning is this a new thing or not? And if it is, then it's going to go pull the RSS data. It's going to convert that data from speech to text, and then it's going to embed the content into a vector database, and then it's going to clean up its workspace. Okay, I'll just continue. Didn't get a response. So, anyways, moving on. For doing this project was challenging. Not, I wouldn't call it challenging in a, oh my gosh, it's going to take me years. It's just so with the amount of resources I put to it, the biggest challenges were figuring out how to structure the data. And that's where you get into the chunking issue where if you chunk your data, you want the episode content to ideally, in the idealized way, you have all of the content in one chunk so that you don't have this case where it tells you about episode 6, but it took some content from episode 5. It's okay if it does a lot of times, but if you can optimize that way, I I found you can get better results. And in some cases, you can't control your data, and you just live with with the potential maybe misunderstandings. The More pages here. So I played with different formats, CSV format, and but the problem is the summary transcript is open ended. There's no like set record length. So this could be like a let's say 20-page document for a 10-minute podcast, or it could be a 30-page document for a 30-minute podcast, or some properties do long form audio sets, so they do 1 hour. So this would always be variable size, and so it was difficult. It wasn't a good fit for the structure. Turned out to not be a good fit. Um, and so, anyways, you're going to see in this paper the hypothesis testing I was doing about, well, is the data in a column format better for generation than natural language structure? Is the Yeah, that's right. I'll leave it at that. So now the features I care about were episode name, just off the top of my head, episode name and the content that comes with the episode, the semantic content, and those are the high level. There's some other details. Here it is. So episode name, tags, either the whole transcript or a summary. That there's a possibility I will pivot to only keeping a summary of a transcript rather than the whole transcript. And in that case, I could go back to having like using a columnar column, a CSV style, and having fixed field widths for this. But I haven't found any reason that the cost of the data will be dramatically higher, at least for the properties that I work with, because they tend to be 20-minute episodes. And all right. So there's thoughts to be thought of about, well, what's the scalability of this? Because I'm talking about if I go to like say NPR, I imagine they were doing podcasts in the early 2000s, but they may not be the correct example. But they do a lot of podcasts per week, so they would have a lot of content, and so the storage demands aren't too bad for this situation if it's a weekly podcast. And I don't expect any issue doing this for like 50 years or over 100 years. I believe the reg strategy will work fine. Maybe if you have a daily podcast and it's really long, there could be a challenge there where the speed of reg won't be suitable when you have a large enough data in your database. But even in those cases, mm, we've had databases since probably the 60s, and the knowledge around make how to reinvigorate your database after it's filled with lots of data by creating, say, extra indexes and other strategies is around there. So even if you're in the face of you start finding out you're going slower, there's some strategies to speed it back up. But when you talk about like 100 years, the hardware is going to be all different too. So it's pretty difficult to think that will be a problem. Okay, so hopefully you guys are a little interested in the solutions architecture. I hope that wasn't too boring. I noticed most of you are not into the delivery side of things. So I thought maybe this will either be boring or maybe it'll be somewhat interesting because you've never maybe had a conversation about this before. What else am I looking at here? I feel like I'm missing something in this. Did I cover everything in this paper? All right, let's say I covered enough. I can't tell. This isn't quite look the way I remember. I thought there were some more sections, but I have citations. So, okay. All right, cool. So let's do some demo stuff. What I'm going to show you, again, I don't have a fully working prototype. It's not because it's more because of my time demands. I'm keeping my clients happy. But let me show you what I got. And the idea is I'm happy, hopefully this could be a tool that you're interested in if you're more interested in playing with variability of different ways of making generative AI work. This is a pretty nice tool. It makes it visual, so you don't have to dig around in Python. I'm all right at Python. I've been doing software development for a long time, so I can usually pick these things up pretty fast. But I still valued using something like floweyes.ai because it was even easier. And I could now go to, I can go build a new flow for AI work, and I can go into these here, let me jump into one of my chat flows. So this is the one I'm going to demonstrate soon, but I can actually I can shop around a little bit and see what catches my eye. And there's a little bit of description. So if you're looking for chat models, you can go here. If you're looking for, well, how am I going to, what LLM am I interested in using? Okay, they're all there. And I updated this recently when I moved to the M2 platform. And so I had to get this system, which is running locally on my machine, working on M2, where before it was on Intel, which wasn't too bad. But anyways, I'm now seeing a lot of new stuff that I haven't tried out,
Is
and
FlowWise a commercial product?
it is okay. What does a commercial product mean?
You're paying for it?
It's okay. Good question. So Flowise is a open source and free product. They have their source code out there on the internet, and you can use it for free. How I got into it was, let me just show you. If you go to YouTube, this was to me was the easiest way to get into the generative AI space. Is just type in like Flowise and whatever you want to do. You want to chat with documents, so chat with PDF. Pick that, and there'll be like an 11-minute video that walks you through how to set it up.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And this is how I got started. Is I think I picked this video here. You will sometimes see that the videos are a little bit out of date from what the UI is, but it's pretty close, and you can usually work out the differences. So I was going to show you Flowise. Come here, Flowise. There it is. So yeah, the cool thing is it makes it a little easier to hunt around for things. And so there's different, like, say, for example, text splitters and those kinds of details. And of course, it integrates into several different vector stores as well. And it can be deployed in a production. What you're seeing is what's on my system. I'll go a little technical here and say this is using a Docker install. So how I install Flowise, you can watch the videos, but you can there's like two paths. There's I'm going to install Flowise for JavaScript using JavaScript node, or I'm going to install Flowise using Docker. And I'm more into architectural pieces. And so Docker's a pleasant way to do it, because whatever I do in Flowise, I can now ship my Docker container into, say, an AWS cloud or something to host this device I'm building. But yeah, so you can just do Flowise, AI, install, and it will take you into their documentation. And so you can install it by, this is the two paths. There's the using NPM, which is Node. It's a JavaScript technology. And so if that's your style of development, there it is, 1, 2, 3 steps approximately. Otherwise, there's Docker, which is a system for containerization and allowing you to make a container is a piece of compute that can has the software, and you can export that compute into other clouds, and it makes it easy to move it around. So there's a quick start that I believe the videos will actually take you through as well. Okay, cool. So what do I have here? So I'm in this case, I'm going to show you a prototype where I was testing out, can Flowise do what I needed to do when I embed some data from a document? Can I communicate and have a chat with it about what's embedded in that document? And so I have to have a splitter. I have to upload something, a document, right? And I have to have a vector store. In this case, I'm using in memory because when I'm prototyping, there's no reason to be spending money on cloud storage for a cloud database. I'm using OpenAI 3.5 Turbo right here, GPT 3.5 Turbo. And so this is the embedding system that needs to connect to this. So you can see these little connectors. They have like a spot that you can that you need. You're building this what I have documented here as you work. And I need a way to pull the content into a location so I can have a conversation. So this piece orchestrates the chat, the LLM with what's returned from RAG. And you'll see like the little connectors here will say that. So this is built with drag and drop. Okay, so what does it do? So let's go over here. Now I can run the chat bot in this environment. Of course, don't be confused. This isn't going to be how it shows up on the website. On the website, it's just going to have the chat bot. But when you're building something, you want to be able to interact with it. So here we go. I can say like, tell me about. And there's a lot of work I could do with prompt engineering, but I tend to spend my areas in areas I don't understand in order to resolve that problem, so I can build the whole thing at a polished and finished way. And so this isn't polished and finished. Tell me about sci-fi thoughts podcast. All right, and then it will give me a response. And it didn't give me a response. Why is that? What's wrong? The demo gods are fighting with me. Am I in the right spot? Vector, remember, oh, I'm in the wrong chat flow. Yeah, that's okay. Memory vector database. This is the one. That other one I think actually had Pinecone in it. Okay, cool. So here I am. Oh no, this is the one I was in. So I may have a problem. Just asking a very open question. All right, so it's too open right now. I may have messed it up earlier when I was playing with this. So I'm gonna upload one of my records here. Sci-fi thoughts show data.txt. So I've got it in the uploader. And now I'm going to, by the way, hit the save button. So this is weird to have a save button on a web app, but I'm not always clear on when save button needs to be pressed. So whenever please consider clicking save when you make changes here. And there's the up insert button so I can insert the data. Okay, there's data, so I know that's working. They've enhanced this, by the way. When I started with this in the past, I didn't have all this visibility, but now I can like look into the, how are the independent pieces it's orchestrating operating. So that's really cool. So now I believe I will get good information. And then that response time's a lot faster too. Okay, so anyways, it remembers the content that I put in there. This is of course not into the standard chatbot as you saw earlier when it couldn't help me here. And I can ask it about like I'm interested in mystery science fiction. Say that. And so it gave me some general information. I've kind of forgot what I have in here for content, but this is general information that you would have gotten. This is not reg. I'm interested in blood orbit. And then now this is coming from reg. You can't get this from, if I go to ChatGPT, it won't tell you about this because this is a fairly, I don't know if, yeah, it's not in a chatbot. So anyways, what you're seeing here is the content that it got from reg. I can, and it's generating it from this series that I recorded with Kat Richardson and KR Richardson, and it's generating it from what it knows about it. Now, in this case, this is not the full transcript, by the way. This is just metadata. This is something that I can just type out really quick and see if I can get that to work right. With prompting, I've been able to. This isn't a prompt engineered response. It will give me the link, so I just click on the link and it takes me to the podcast that is in the structure. In this data. So for example, right here. Okay. All right. So I don't want to bore you guys too much, but this is using Flow Eyes for generative AI. There's a part that I was hoping to demonstrate today for the converting. Actually, I can demonstrate it today because I got it working about like 10 minutes before the call. So remember the data miner is getting the content from the internet and converting it into text so it can be embedded into that vector database. So I have in here I have Whisper installed in here, and one of the problems is people and their names are just not standard. They have all kinds of spelling for names, right? And generative AI can't figure out how to transcribe something like David Pryor, the fellow I work with. It always comes out to be, I don't know if you can see what I'm typing here. What generative AI likes to do is David, like Richard Pryor, the actor. I believe it's something like PR, something like that. That's like maybe not be quite accurate, but it's roughly like that. And so he was complaining to me like, Lance, if you do this for me, every time you ask, anytime the people will talk to the chatbot, it's going to like butcher my name, and I'm the host. What why should I live with that? And that's a great point. So what I was working on before the call is getting it to generate the transcripts from a show. And here's one. I know I can fix this with prompt engineering or other ways. You can give it a custom dictionary. And because I have the RSS feed, I know who the host is. I know who the guest is, because people are going to say who the host is and the guest is when they publish a podcast. And there'll probably be some background information, like we're going to talk about politics. That part may be not so useful, but getting the names of the people straight will be a huge win. And so I can get that from the RSS feed. And what's an open problem that I need to solve and it's solvable. I've seen the APIs that can do it, but I haven't successfully ran them locally. Is to be able to get get the Whisper to get the names right. So, for example, here's a real life transcript. This is my after, and hang on a second. I was going to create a before and after case, but let's see. The experiment I ran just before this call, I don't think it passed, but let's take a look. So Richard Hoonhausen, it's not Hundhausen, it's not spelled correctly, introduces us to Nectar, which is not true either. It's Nexus, Nexus, a framework for doing blah, 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 multi-team development, etc. So you can see that how are you going to do content? How are you going to do semantic generation when your data is wrong, right? It's not going to work. So let's go ahead and take a look at the after. This is a live experiment, folks. I ran this just before the call, and I don't know if it worked. I did some work with the Whisper to prompt it, so but I don't think it worked because I see it's inserted in the name. So right here, for some reason it stuck my prompt right into the transcript. And I actually spelt it wrong, by the way. I still got Hundhausen spelled wrong. This is what I typed in. But let's see what it got. So it's spell it the way I mistakenly told it, and it got Nexus right instead of Nectar. So I can see it's already improving things. So I need to do a test of whether it gets David Pryor's name spelled right. And I don't really need to have it hanging out inside the transcript though, but I can probably fix that because there's multiple ways to pass along what's called a custom dictionary. So the custom dictionary will be driven from the RSS feed, so I'll be able to get all that information. So cool. We're seeing an experiment that worked because I hadn't had a chance to look at this before the call.
Is Whisper able to distinguish between the different speakers within the podcast?
That's a great question, and I don't know. I think it does because I think I can tell it to use a transcript with the entities in it and have it show the person like a who's speaking. But I need to look into that. That you're now steps ahead of me.
Kenneth just said no, so it's just something I've been curious about. He says he runs it locally and it can't do it.
Hey, Kenneth, if you have a tip for me, please, we should catch up. I can see it didn't get Richard Hoonhausen spelt correctly there. But I can see it's got Nexus right, which is going to help a lot. So it looks like it's improved a little bit, but it missed that one.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right. So which model are you running for Whisper? They usually come in like 3 models.
Yeah, I think I'm running the smallest. Let's take a look.